Should I stand in solidarity with you all standing in the back? I should probably do that. All right, so I'm going to read you a chapter from the novel I'm working on. If it feels too long, just say something, because I'm working on it. This chapter is called Remembering a La Favela Chic. I'm not going to tell you anything about it. It's just going to happen. I'm a poetry snob. I only go to poetry readings for the free wine. I don't care what kind of wine it is. I'm not a wine snob. Most readings I go to, I'm reading, and I don't drink before I read. This time I'm not reading at all. Blanc or rouge? The skinny, pale French hipster bartender asked. Rouge, s'il vous plaît. That's the extent of my French. 13 or 10? He asks with his thick accent, and I draw a blank. It's not the accent that's perplexing me. It's the choice of years. For me, wine is a time machine. I'm always superstitious about drinking a year, because if it was a bad year for me, I don't want to summon it. 2013 was a great year. I'm forever in praise of what I accomplished that year. See, that year, I got out of my rotten marriage and dead-end job. I'm an entirely different person because of that year. Prior to that year, Virgil and I roamed aimlessly through my internal inferno for decades. Ever since then, I only look forward. So, am I afraid to look back? I've resented my past long enough. What's the worst that could happen? 10 or 13, monsieur. It shouldn't be this difficult to choose a damn wine. What's that mantra from Flamel Therapy? Everything I used to hate, I now do my best to celebrate. 10, s'il vous plaît. He fills my glass to the brim. I'll take a sip to keep it from spilling and carefully find a seat away from the crowd. I've been fasting all day, so the bitter rouge coats and warms me immediately. All right now, 2010, you abysmal year, you. Tell me who the hell I was. In 2010, I was 28 and 29. Hated my job, but worked all the time. No one took me serious as a poet. I was arrogant, resentful, and unpublished. I was a bookseller. I ran the poetry section on 18th and 5th in Manhattan. I worked there since '03, making $6.75 an hour. 7 years later, I was making $11.25 an hour. I was jealous of all the published poets who came into the store. If their books were already in the store, it was store policy that I asked them to autograph copies. Oftentimes, I lie to them. Sorry, we don't carry your books, and we can't order them in because your distributor's not in our system. I cherished deflating their egos. It was the highlight of my day. The highlight of my night was 2 magnums of Gato Negro Cabernet. I was known for my poetry section. Professors and poets from all over the world frequented the store and considered me a committed warrior in the battle for redeeming poetry sections the world over. I had all the gods organized perfectly. Every book by them, their biographies and critical analysis, side by side in impeccable alphabetical brilliance. I had the obscure, to Americans, gods also. Zhukovsky, Muller, Kaufman, H.D., Louis Xiaobo, Maria Elena Cruz Varela, Rumi, translations by everyone but Barks. A.I., Tagore, Harjo, Cardinal, Akhmatova, Stevens, Ayena, Vallejo, Jia Yongmin, Silko, Yehuda, and of course my favorite at that time, John Trudell. No one had John Trudell's books in the city. Of course, I had the ancients too. Orpheus, Dao Yongming, Sappho, Enheduanna, Thoth, Ayente of Tegea, Lipo, Catullus, Zariab, Ovid, Virgil, Sundiata, Arabian Nights, Ficino, Aeschylus, Shelley, the other Shelley, she Shelley, and Pushkin. I know, they're not ancients, but they're gods nonetheless. Hesiod, Dante, Chaucer, Basho, Chow Pai, Sophocles, Homer, which some customers argued belonged in the mythology section. I had the most diverse anthologies too. Shinto, Taoist, Druid, African ancient poems of ancient Africans, Pacific Islanders, Caribbean, South Americans, Turkish, Russian, Viking, Native American, Australian, Icelandic, even Inuit. Point anywhere on any map, I had an anthology from there. Even obscure street poets' chapbooks. Poets from all over the world asked me to carry their books, but it was a gangster policy to carry self-published works that didn't have an ISBN code or a legitimate publisher. My revolt? If I liked the poet as a person, I'd sneak them onto the shelves and sometimes into the front window. During inventory, I'd hide them inside the big classics like Chaucer, Wordsworth, or Blake. I even had a subsection for mystics, Sufis, alchemists, all that. I had the Bibles in there too. Some customers would get pissed about that. I love telling them that every Bible's written in verse and therefore it's poetry. The customers I impressed would ask, "Where'd you get your MFA?" I'd relish in telling them, "I'm a self-educated, poetic zealot preaching poetry on behalf of the truest truth. In every religion, science, mythology, or esoteric cosmology, God created the world with words. Hence, God is a poet." I'd follow that up with, "God is not a slam poet." Although God is the first spoken word artist. God is a poet's poet. Some asked, "Well, do you go to a lot of readings in the city?" I took pleasure in explaining, no, I can't tolerate the auditory disease that is slam poetry. I carried no books by slammers. Customers who enjoyed my spiel always encouraged me to finish my book, go to more readings, and share my words with the world. I told them all about how I sent out poems all the time, but no one published me. Everyone told me to just publish yourself. Whitman did it, Pound did it, Muller did it, H.D. did it, you should too. But I didn't want to wind up like those chapbook poets I hid in classics on the shelves. They warned me that if I didn't publish soon, I ran the risk of becoming one of those old angry poets who talks the talk, but are too bitter to walk the walk. That year, an ancient history professor from Columbia University, not the country, recommended the ancient Sumerian goddess poets. Their words and culture set my mind on fire. Enheduanna and Gilgamesh changed my life. I was so inspired by their heroic tales of transformation that I started going to the Met on my days off, spending hours in front of their statues, writing and praying to Anu, Utu, Enlil, and Inanna to transform me into a poet of the gods. After I had prayed myself dizzy with them, I began prostrating in the Egyptian wing, writing prayers to Hathor, Thoth, Ra, Osiris, Isis, Sekhmet, Serket, Nekhmet, Geb, Nut, and Ma'at to be blessed as their poet. One day, in the temple of Dendar, Thoth responded and told me to study the ancient Egyptian priesthood and anonymous scribes. Of course, you could say I was talking to myself, but in keeping with the tradition of the ancients, I prefer to believe the gods answered me. I obeyed Thoth and ordered it in every ancient Egyptian book I could find. I devoured everything by Budge, Ra, Nefer Ra, Amen, Allen, Ahmed, Hawass, Mathers, the Pyramid Scrolls, Coptic Gospels, the Desert Fathers, the Desert Sisters, even the New Age stuff by writers who claim they received poetic transmission directly from the netters. When I exhausted Egypt, I went over to the Hindu wing, and that led me to the Bhagavad Gita and Krishna worship, which led me to the Mahabharata, which accelerated everything. Without a doubt, the Mahabharata is the greatest written work on earth. The fact that Ganesh dictated the great poem, the greatest poet ever told, to Vyasa sent me praying to Ganesh to bless me with a great story too. I even got my ex-wife into it. She bought murtis and other sculptures of other gods. We prayed every morning and night to them. She prayed for fame in the art world. She was a painter. I prayed to be Vyasa or Enheduanna. When I finished the Mahabharata, I obeyed Ganesh's command to Vyasa to go out and share his story. In early December of 2010, I returned from another foodless lunch break and was assigned to bring up a cart from the warehouse for the self-help and New Age Christmas displays. It was a slow afternoon at work, and we were all setting up Christmas displays. The few customers that were in the store were assisting themselves. I usually avoided this section because, having grown up between Berkeley and San Francisco in the 80s and 90s, I gained a healthy skepticism and annoyance with all things and any people self-helpish or new agey. Nonetheless, I wheeled the bloated cart over to the new age and self-help section that was usually occupied by businessmen or people who dressed like genies and shamans. I wheeled the cart through the overstock to avoid any possible customers at the information desk. I had to display books with corny titles like Change Your Life Now, Your Best Life Now, Purpose-Driven Life, Your Happiness Journal, Happiness of the Shaman, Happy Wife, Happy Life, Quit Your Job and Live Your Bliss, Live Your Bliss Journal. While setting up the display, a thick British accent mentioned, "There happens to be no one at the kiosk. Can you please assist me in finding a couple of books?" I hated helping the British. Their snobbery and elitism infuriated me. I turned around, prepared to get rid of her, when I noticed a beautiful 6-foot-tall, caramel-complexioned, stern woman in army fatigues, with a black hood covering her bald head. She also had clear framed spectacles that looked like they were hundreds of years old. As cliche as it is, I instantly felt I had known her before. I relaxed. I put down, "Stop, change your life now," and walked over to the information desk. "So how can I help you?" "I am in need of assistance, my friend, not help. No one can help anyone. One must choose to help themselves, but that is neither here nor there. I would appreciate your assistance in locating several of the books on this list." She pulled a small square emerald piece of paper from her coat pocket and unfolded it into a long scroll. She noticed my apprehension and joked, "What time do you close?" We laughed. I recommended, "There's always tomorrow," to which she laughed loud enough to turn heads throughout the store. Her laugh made me laugh harder too. "You have a strong laugh, young man." Young man? I was obviously older than her. She looked to be at the most 21, although her stature was that of an ancient warrior. "Oh, you do not consider yourself a young man? Delightful," she said. "I don't feel young anymore, you know what I mean?" "What are you, 29? I was startled by her accuracy. Most people considered me 35 or 40, which had a lot to do with the way I dressed. My co-workers nicknamed me Mr. Rogers on account of my shabby sweaters, baggy slacks, and senior citizen Echo walking shoes. Even my writer friends called me Grandpa. "So you're 29 and you hate your life. Good for you. Now, what are you going to do about it?" To my surprise, I was not angry or insulted. "You know, before you arrived, I was over there thinking, I know, I felt your grief. Lucky for you, I am here to rescue you." Her obsidian eyes were so friendly and familiar, I couldn't decide if she was flirting or if she was possessed by my grandmother. "You enjoy gazing into people's eyes. What are you searching for in there?" she asked. "I guess my reflection." "And how often do you find it?" "Rarely." "Do you see it now?" With her hand, she motioned for me to come closer to her. This made me uncomfortable, so I froze. She removed her glasses and put her face close enough to mine that I should have been able to smell her. She had no smell, which struck me as awkward. I saw nothing but immeasurable blackness in her eyes. My discomfort made her laugh. At that instant, I saw myself, tiny and laughing. I was overwhelmed with emotion. I wanted to run out of that store and break all the way down. She placed her palm on the center of my chest, and a fire spread through my body. My emotions subsided and my shoulders relaxed. She closed her eyes, replaced her glasses, and stepped away from me. When she opened her eyes, I was confused and embarrassed. "I have 333 books on this list. I am sure that this store carries none of them." "Well, I can help you with that." "I repeat, I am in no need of help." "Then how can I be of service?" "Every sincere seeker afflicted with that question is afflicted with that question, are we not?" I didn't know how to respond to that. She continued. "You never told me when the store closes. We close at 9 tonight. We? I didn't know how to respond to this either. My God, mate, where are you in any of it? I was ashamed of my previous explanation, but intrigued by the close attention she paid to my words. You're worse off than I ever imagined. I sincerely hope it's not too late for you. Will you do me a favor? Anything. Oh, don't be so dramatic. Pass me the time. 3:33. Isn't that exciting? What? Turn it over in your bean and it'll reveal itself and its importance when you're ready. At any rate, these books, all 333 of them, let us begin. Whatever is not available, I prefer to order, and whatever is unavailable for order, I want the publisher's contact. Are you up for this? I'm up for it. I spent the next 4 hours with her list. It was the most obscure list I'd ever read. I compiled 3 lists for her. One was what was in the store, the other was what I could order in, and the other was the contacts of the publishers whose books were out of print. For those that were out of print books, I recommended that she go to the library, to which she responded, "We are building our own library." I attempted cleverness. We? Oh yes, we indeed. If you work for one of those organizations that helps children in need, I can connect you with the specialty buyer and she can arrange a discount. And the organization to which I am of employ is not, nor will it ever be, one of those aforementioned services. We are far more advanced when it comes to assisting the children than you'd ever believe. I didn't know what that meant and didn't care to ask. I was about 200 books into the list when the 30 minutes to closing announcement came over the store monitors. She found it ridiculous. That's the job, is it? Telling people they need to leave. Well, we almost made it, did we not? I didn't respond. So what do you do when you're not here? Let me guess. You're a rapper. How could she have known that? I had done my best to cover up my rap life ever since I made the decision to focus strictly on poetry in 2005. I lied. No, I'm a poet. She laughed again. What's the difference, mate? I had no answer. You're a liar is what you are. Or worse yet, you're afraid of yourself. I bet you believe you're cursed. She continued in between laughs. Who cursed you? She was 100% correct. I was humiliated and so said nothing. You've cursed yourself. Your shame holds you hostage. Reverse the curse, man. Just let it all go and start over. I was astonished by her accuracy. And look at your ring, man. Oh, I hope it's not too late. You two haven't got long anyway. It's already over. I was red. And now you think you're angry. She shrieked with laughter. I noticed my manager watching from the registers in the front of the store. Too much laughing always made him suspicious. I wanted to tell the customer to mind her business, but she was so on point with her observations that I actually feared her. My manager was coming toward the desk, obviously bothered that I had only helped one customer for the past 5 hours and didn't set up the Christmas displays. To calm him down, I needed evidence of the order I was compiling for her. I have to save these lists now. I need to put the orders under your name, miss. She giggled. Me, a miss. My dear friend, you missed the point entirely. I am that I am, but you may call me, she searched for a name, In Anna. I entered her name in the computer as my manager walked over to inspect my exchange. All right, Miss In Anna. I just need a phone number and we'll contact you when. In Anna noticed my manager, held his glance and cut me off. We don't use phones. I'll return tomorrow and buy everything on my list with cash. How much cash should I bring? So far, it's about $3,700. My manager was excited. Perfect. Please keep my list and prepare the books for me. I'll be in a rush tomorrow, so I'll need the books immediately. I will pay in cash. Do not pass this deal on to anyone else. I want only to work with you. Thank you for your impeccable patience and assistance. See you in the morning. And she walked out like military men in movies. My manager looked over the deal and said, let's hope she comes back. We need that deal to make our budget this week. Good work. Now, finish the shelving and start cleaning up. Did you finish your displays? What an annoying man. I told him I was with her, so Well, now you're not. And he walked away, swirling his hand in the air, which was his sign language for cleaning up. I wanted to break his wrist. I spent all morning gathering her books. I finished the list at exactly 2:22 and took my lunch break exhausted but excited to see Anna again. When I walked outside into the freezing December day, she was sitting on the standing pipes in front of the store. Top of the morning to you, Malcolm. How did she know my name? Your name tag. Oh, I forgot to take it off. I've been working on your list all morning. I knew you were willing to do the necessary work. You on lunch? Yeah, I just clocked out. Well, let us lunch. What do you plan on eating? I don't eat in the daytime. Me either. You're fasting, I take it. Yeah, I fast every day. Good for you. For guilt or for God? I wanted to say God, but the truth betrayed me. Guilt. Splendid. So you are well acquainted with the emptiness. Emptiness? Yeah. Empty marriage, empty job, empty everything. Emptiness is the only way to fulfillment. You desire transformation, no? It is our job to grant it. The heroic journey you've sought your entire life, if you see so fit to accept it, will now begin. Any of those books you compiled today speak to you in any way? So many. What comes to mind at this instant? Wizard, the life and times of Nikola Tesla, and the secret teachings of all ages. She clapped her hands while nodding and added, There must be one more. There is always one more after two. Don't think about it, just say it. The House of the Rothschilds. She stood and applauded. Bravo, Malcolm, bravo. You have given yourself your first assignments. And might I add one more as an introduction to your new self? I nodded, yes. To begin to grasp what we are and thus what your position with us will be, you being the bookseller that you are, must do yourself this spectacular favor. Are you familiar with Nicholas Flamel? I saw several books mentioning him on your list. We were out of everything on him except a teen book. A teen book on Nicholas Flamel. And she jumped up laughing and clapping her hands. I laughed too. To know Nicholas Flamel is to know your former self. Have you been to Paris yet? No, but I wanted to go ever since I was a child. What's kept you? I don't want to go out there as a tourist. Nicholas Flamel is the gatekeeper of Paris. Gain his favor and you won't just go to Paris as a tourist. You'll go as a celebrated alchemist. You are now on the path of the all. You will soon lose all that you have. You will be emptied of all that is not your true self. In the shedding of the subtle body, you'll gain all that you were born to be. In this way, you'll be one with the God through your internal alchemy. For God is all, and God is the initial immortal alchemist. Well, I'll be damned. I didn't even tell her God was a poet.